Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on empowering material and simulation engineers in terms of material properties, materials compliance, sustainability, and how AI can help with optimizing your material selection process. So we're just going to wait a couple more minutes for others to join into the session, and then we'll get started right away. Thank you for joining. Okay, I think we'll get started. While others are coming into the webinar, I think it's best for Nicola and I to give a brief introduction on who we are, because we'll be able to support you if you're ever interested in Total Materia. So I'm just going to give a brief introduction of myself, and then Nicola, my other colleague who's also online, will as well. So my name is Natalia, and I'm the territory manager for North America. I've been in at Total Materia for the last 4.5 years now, and our goal is, of course, to help empower material and simulation engineers, and essentially any type of engineer that requires, to search for material properties and help them optimize their material selection process. Nick, can you give a quick introduction of yourself?
Sure, thank you, Matt. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Nicola. I'm the account manager here at Total Materia. And today, Natalia and myself will walk you through our solutions and demonstrate how to export material properties, identify equivalent materials, find missing material properties using advanced prediction tools, as well as ensure compliance with global standards, among other things. So yeah, just sit back, enjoy, and feel free to ask any questions in the chat box, and we'll definitely get to them.
Perfect. Thanks, Nicola. And for today, we're going to separate the presentation in two parts. So first, we're going to go over PowerPoint, and then Nicola will show you how our tool could help you optimize with your material selection process with in mind material properties, of course, on how you could search for those, calculating materials compliance and sustainability, and the added functionality of AI. But before we get into the description of our solutions and how we could help, it's always great to understand the different challenges that you're focusing on today that you may have, but also really adding in that the material selection process has changed within the last couple of years. So at the start, the material selection process looked like this. You would, of course, select your material, perform simulations, and of course, one thing would be good to limit the amount of material tests. That's why simulation comes into play. Doing a quality check to make sure that the material you're using is good for all those different design standards. Supply chain, making sure that the materials you are choosing are even available to be purchased, but also being able to find equivalents around the world. There's over 80 standard organizations within the materials industry. So of course, it's always quite difficult to sometimes match all the different designations in different countries. But also there are two new tools and let's say kind of topics that we need to cover now within the material selection process. First, it's material sustainability. So making sure that you're choosing the greenest material alternatives out there, adhering to your different business initiatives, but also making sure that the material you're choosing is compliant to specific and new regulations. And as I mentioned, that was, let's say, the engineering focus and the classic way of doing things, making sure that the material is suitable for the task, reliable, and if you could find at the right price. But now you have different business constraints, making sure you could sell the materials, or sorry, your products in the market before you actually go to market is always a great way of doing things, meeting your corporate goals, making sure you deliver good quality, and also being able to validate your product accurately. So those are some things that we've seen in the last couple of years that have changed. And obviously, it would be a lot easier for you to do all those changes and make sure you're tracking all those changes throughout a global organization and making sure everyone is utilizing the same materials information and being able to find the same information from either a material selection perspective or from a simulation perspective. But also, some of the most common pain points that our current customers are facing are the following, and that you might be as well. Firstly, it's, are you able to find an equivalent material? Sometimes your supplier comes back to you and says, this material might not be available in the specific country, or it might not be compliant in the specific country you're trying to sell your product into. And being able to find equivalent materials quickly could help as well. Sometimes it takes a lot of information to procure a lot of material information at once. So that's one of those pain points that our current customers are facing. Sometimes you need, for a proper simulation to take place, proper physical, mechanical, maybe stress strengths, fatigue data to be able to properly do those simulations. And having all that information in one place could help you go a long way. Most importantly, the information you find online or through different engineering textbooks or through different sources found within your company, one important question you always have to ask is that information coming from a reliable source? And finally, now with the business constraints coming into play, are you sure that this material could meet your supply chain sustainability and compliance constraints? And just for you to know, you're not the only one that is kind of facing with these current pain points. And of course, the worst case scenario could be as follows. From a materials simulation engineering perspective, if you're trying to find materials information, but you can't find the properties you may need, maybe the information is not published by that certain material producer standard, or you can't get that information from your current supplier. We've been seeing a lot of this, especially related to, from a compliance perspective. Sometimes suppliers are changing the chemical composition, but you don't understand how that change could affect the material's performance. Perhaps your scenario from an R&D perspective is too specific, and material testing programs could take a very long time, but most importantly, they cost thousands of dollars. And how we can help with that is the following. We have a materials prediction tool, Predictor, that helps understand the material designation as well as the composition. So you're able to make predictions either based on chemical composition data or just through the designation information. Having access to reliable materials information from both a compliance and sustainability perspective, as well as a material properties perspective, could help you save a lot of costs, but also time in material testing. Performing several calculations per day instead of waiting for weeks from a materials testing perspective also could go a long way. And finally, the information that we have in Total Materia, and we'll go into a little bit more detail on what that information is and how we're able to help with that, is always being enhanced with new models and learning experiences so you could get the most up-to-date information, as well as we have a team of 40 engineers doing just that. So before we get into all the different challenges that Total Materia resolves, as well as the different material sectors that we cover, it would be really great to understand what are some of the pain points that you're currently dealing with. So Nick, can you put up the poll to see from our audience what are some of their current pain points and challenges
Absolutely.
that they're facing? Okay, please take a moment, everyone, to just, you know, fill in the poll. And it's really just for us to understand uh, from an industry perspective what most of our customers and just people around the industry are currently facing with, but also understanding how we could best help in the future in all those topics. All right, we'll give you just another moment to fill that out, and then we'll continue on with the presentation.
Okay, perfect. I think we
Okay,
have a better idea here.
perfect. Thank you, Nick, and thank you everyone for giving your insight. We really appreciate it. So just to get into a little bit in more detail on the different challenges that we resolved today. Firstly, we help customers get access to reliable materials information. So helping you streamline your material selection process. And as we mentioned, cutting sourcing and testing costs when you have access to, reliable materials information. We also have a way of helping you manage your internal materials data. Of course, depending on the size of the company, some companies have a large test data bank from all the different material tests that they've conducted within the years, and being able to give that accessibility to others around the organization could go a long way. Integrating that information with your CAD, CAD, CAE, and PLM tools. So everyone being able to access the right material information, connecting all that data together, predicting material properties, as well as taking care from a compliance and sustainability perspective and gaining a competitive advantage through your material selection process. So how we were able to connect all those different challenges is through the Total Materia platform. And now just to give a quick detail on the 4 pillars that we cover. So first, Total Materia Horizon, our materials reference library. So our bread and butter, what we're most known for, that's our material reference library that covers over 550,000 material designations coming from stress shrinkers, fatigue data, basic mechanical physical properties, corrosion data, welding information, you name it. So over there, you could find reliable materials information coming from 80 plus standards, thousands of producer data sheets, and is always the best way to firstly check if that information is out there in the world. Of course, a lot of different companies, as I mentioned in the previous slide, do have a lot of their own internal data. We also have a way for you to organize that information into your own materials management platform called Integrator. We also have a material prediction tool that helps you predict unknown material properties. So if there's no information given from the standard producer data sheet, or we just can't find that information online, you're able to utilize our machine learning models to help you with those calculations. And finally, Greenline, helping you make sure that the materials you're choosing are compliant from different regulations perspective, but also making sure that you're choosing the greenest material out there, but also adhering to the fact that if there's a change in chemical composition, what will that do to your compliance regulation, but also making sure that all your business initiatives are aligned and also connected to the performance of the material as well. So these are the 4 pillars of the Total Material platform that could help you with your potential pain points. So now we're going to go into more detail on each of these 4 tools and how that could help from a materials engineer perspective, simulation perspective, on how you could get the right materials information into your organization. So firstly, Horizon, as I mentioned, that is our bread and butter. We have a lot of curated materials information there, over 550,000 designations now. I should change that number in my slide. Covering over 80 global standards, and also you're able to find a lot of material equivalents. Nicola will show you that in the demo once he gets started with that. We have a lot of different tools that help you connect the data and also share that information throughout the organization. So if you're trying to choose between a couple of different materials, we do have tools to help you with those materials comparisons and helps you streamline the material selection process, advanced material properties like stress drinkers, fatigue data, and most importantly, from a simulation perspective, you could export this data to over 25 CAD CAE formats from SolidWorks to CATIA, NX, ANSYS, you name it, we cover all those formats. And it's really easy to export the information from Horizon. So from a global inventories perspective, we do have over 25 million properties that you could choose from. But of course, sometimes you also have your internal data that you want to connect to CAD CAE as well. So that's why we also have Integrator. Integrator helps you import your own materials information and create your own internal materials management platform. The best part about Integrator is that it does connect to Horizon as well. So you could copy over data into your own internal portal and really spruce up the internal materials information you have with standardized information or information coming from producer data sheets. Being able to connect your materials information to global equivalents, adding in different approval and release workflows to maintain control and integrity of the information that's in your system. Integrating that data with CAD, CAE, PLM, we're able to connect to Siemens products, DS products as well, Altair as well, and yes, PTC is, of course. So from that perspective, you connect your internal data to that. And that's what most of our customers are doing today is creating a single source of truth and Integrator and then connecting that data to other systems and programs around the globe and within the company, and also having a flexible RESTful API structure so you can maneuver around the data as you want. So that's really connecting your world to our world. And what we mean by that is for Horizon, you have a lot of reference data, global alternatives information. You could help with the material selection process as well. Material identification, joints and welding information, substance and compliance information as well. And then you could create internal reports and advanced material properties, and you're able to export that data, so just reference data. But with Integrator, I'm just going to go through this quickly just to make sure we have enough time for the demo. So one important thing is you could copy data from Horizon into your own instance, but just having that list of approved materials and also integrating that data with your systems could go a long way. We have also on-site and on-cloud options to make sure that your information is safe. And the best part is with Integrator, it is an out-of-the-box solution, but we do have a lot of configurations that you could actually set up on your own, so you don't have to rely on us. And that one thing that's good about that is that you could set up your users. So from a general users, power users, and system administrator perspective, you could have a lot of different user profiles that might not have access to, let's say, Horizon, the materials reference library, but only have access to internal data or specific properties related to simulation, different power users and administrators. So there's not just 3 levels of users here. This is just the general standard that we provide, but you could add up as many user profiles as you want to make sure you're fitting to your own processes through single sign-on. So it's a very easy process. So thirdly, we got Predictor. So where you're able to predict material properties, mechanical and physical, stress strain curves, and fatigue data. So we have a lot of different machine learning algorithms, and we're able to predict over 20 plus properties. You're able to also predict properties and behaviors based on chemical composition. So if there's a change in the chemical composition, you're able to do so, and you're able to share that information internally and externally as well. And how we were able to create and execute these models. First, we used information from Horizon, did material classification, data validation, making sure that the materials information that we put into our machine learning models had a process attached to it, a heat treatment, and then from there created those different models. And Nicola will show you a step-by-step on how to perform the calculation. But you have your material designation, you can select your model, you define your parameters, and then you share your results with confidence. And how do we classify these material groups? So we cover both metallic and non-metallic materials. For metals, it's quite easy. We're classifying the materials using chemical composition data. For non-metallic materials, it has to be a little bit more generic. So the information is, in terms of when we say generic, we put the material in a classification of a family. So Macrolon 1095 is a polycarbonate, but we also use fillers, densities, UV stabilizers. So any added information we could find from the producer data sheet to add in additional information. So then you could actually predict the material properties using these additives rather than just predicting information for polycarbonates. And really the benefits of being able to adjust the chemical composition, as most of you know, is improved product quality, so adhering to different performance characteristics, costs, optimizing raw materials and reduction in waste, specific applications, so tailoring towards that, R&D. Also from a sustainability perspective, reducing carbon footprint and adhering to different global regulations utilizing materials compliance. So you could adjust the chemical composition in Predictor and then predict material properties based on that as well. So as I mentioned, we do cover mechanical properties, and I'm just going to go through this quickly. You'll see all the different material groups that we cover. So if you have any additional questions on that, Nicola and I could always hop on a call to go over that. Physical properties as well, so quite a lot and quite a lot of different material groups like aluminums, coppers, stainless steels. And also from a nonlinear perspective, we got aluminums and alloys, as well as essentially just alloys, no polymers, and we cover both fatigue strength and stress strain curves as well, depending on the material group. And finally, just quickly going through green line, so our materials compliance and sustainability tool. So the reason why we really invested in creating a compliance tool as well as a sustainability tool, which we'll go into in just the next slide, is really going through all the different regulations. We've found since 2016 that there's been a growth of 85% in terms of all the materials regulations there are globally. So as you can see, it's steadily going up, and it's always important to make sure that you're choosing materials with the right compliance status. And from a sustainability perspective as well, besides from reducing the risk management in terms of compliance, so product recalls, penalties, and all that, making sure that you're aligning with your corporate goals and your ESG initiatives. So access to incentives and grants could be a good thing, and also from a sustainability perspective, brand value and marketing. So obviously there's a growing demand for eco-friendly products, and it gives you a transparency and a competitive advantage. I know there's a lot of information here covering our materials compliance and sustainability tool, but in short, we cover over 300 regulations, REACH, RoHS, a lot of different regional, federal, and state inventory regulations as well. And we also have a bill of materials assessment that allows you to calculate compliance through a lot of different materials at once, LCA and CO2 tool, and so much more. So the way we report on material compliance, for metallic materials, we assess the compliance using chemical composition. So it's very, very easy. But for non-metallics, we have to rely on producer data sheets and restrictive substance lists. And the sustainability parameters we cover are as follows. So raw material extraction, manufacturing, so process and transportation. Our LCA tool covers 41 global indicators from EcoEvent. So you could cover all those different parameters, but our CO2 tool covers one global indicator. So obviously climate, and then you could add in your own manufacturing routes, processes, and transportation. But with our LCA tool, it's just a average utilizing information from Ecovent. However, we do not cover use and end of life. So just for everyone to know, we cover from cradle to gate, so raw material extraction to transportation. And again, how do we calculate these parameters? For metals, again, I'm repeating myself, but we're calculating that data using chemical composition by weights. And for non-metallic materials, with EcoEvent, we're able to classify different polymers into their own polymer family, so we could utilize averages from that. But also there's information found directly from producer data sheets that we're able to utilize as well. So I know we went over a lot of different topics and different pain points. So now Nicola will actually take over and go through a demonstration in Total Materia on how you could find reliable materials information and make sure that the materials you're using are compliant, sustainable, but also predicting material properties for missing data. Nick, you take it away.
Thank you, Nat. Thank you for providing with an overview of all the solutions we offer. And now I'll go straight into the platform and show you what it's all like in action. Okay, so I went to the platform, and probably a lot of you are already familiar with Horizon, our main platform. But I'll just show you a couple of functionalities that we have here. So let me just use one example that we can work with. So when you click inside a material, you'll be able to access both mechanical and physical properties. If you would like to, export that into over 25 exportable solver formats that are, available here. And just before I export it to one of these, just so you know what you will be able to include within that export, you can select, the temperatures you would like to work with. You can select the references. You can also add, criteria that you wish for, to add, for example, different heat treatment options, different forms, dimensions, and different properties as well. In this case, mechanical ones. And when you select the conditions you would like to work with, if you scroll below, you'll find all the values for these properties, for these temperatures that you selected. And if you would like to visualize it differently, you can also click on the view diagram option, and here you can find multiple diagrams that you can also add to the diagram comparison if you would like to add different parameters. And for everything that you find within Total Materia, as most of you probably know, you can always find the references below, so you actually know where the data is coming from, that it's coming from reliable sources. And let's just go ahead and export some of this information. So all you would need to do is just click onto the Export to z.akyuz option and select the solver that you would like to go with. So all of the solvers are right here. Let's select something common like SolidWorks, for example. And here you can select the properties you would like to include in that export. Let's select tensile strength and yield strength, for example. Click on next step. Here you can select the condition. Click on next step again. For yield strength, again, select the condition you would like to work with. And here you can select this as well. Like, let's go with the first one, for example. And for tensile strength, finally, select the condition, scroll below, select here as well, click on next step, and here you can just export it and click on save. And something else that you will also be able to do is if you would like, to find, for example, some global equivalents or cross-references coming from, various, global standards, all you would need to do is just go to the cross-reference table if you would like to, let's say compare different material properties or chemical composition, you will definitely be able to do that. So here you can just select the standard you would like to work with. For this example, we have 1139 equivalents. But if you would like, to only look for, let's say, United States standards, you can just select them here. That reduces the amount to 401. And if you would like to quickly, compare the original material to that selected equivalent, all you would need to do is just click on this button here that says compare, and you'll be able to compare their basic information, their chemical composition based on the reference that you select, their mechanical properties based on the temperature that you select, as well as their physical properties. And you can also export add this to the report builder, or print this to a PDF if you would like to, for example, to share that with any of your colleagues. And so this is just an example of what it usually looks like. But if you ever stumble upon a material that doesn't have a lot of properties available, for example, let me just use a different example. For example, this one. When you click on it, you'll see that there are no mechanical properties available, hardly any physical properties except for density. And when we go to the cross-reference table and to equivalents, hardly any equivalents either. So something that you might be able to do in this case is go to a predictor, our solution for predicting missing material properties, and just select and search for that same material right here. Here you can also include different material groups, different standards, and you can predict both on a material basis or from a chemical composition. And then when you click on search, here we would get all of these materials, all of these options. You can also edit the chemical composition if you wish. And here you can select, usually you have more references here, but you can also select the reference you would like to work with. So in this case, for this example, let's just go with the first one coming from the AA standard. And then you can, filter the possibilities. You can filter, multiple properties here. For example, tensile strength, yield strength, fatigue, stress. So for this example, let's just go with tensile strength. Here you can select different output types, performance ratings, and applicability. And then let's just select the model 1147, for example, predicts the approximate value of tensile strength at different temperatures. Click on next step, and here you can also add the model parameters and define the required inputs. So for product, let's just select something like plates. For dimension type, we can go with thickness dimension. Let's put 20. We can select different heat treatments. For example, let's go with T6. And here we can select the temperature range. Let's go between, let's say, 100 to 400, for example. And we can also create a, steps here. Let's go, yeah, I think it was 50. I think that's fine. Just click on predict. And here you'll find the model's prediction. It's fully applicable in this case. And you can also, find the confidence interval if you would like, to check that as well. You can also, see all the performance metrics below, how the, prediction actually is. And you can also add this prediction to the diagram comparison if you would like to add multiple, diagrams. You can compare them next to one another. You can change some of the requirements, some of the inputs, and you can compare them all at once, just so you can see which one you would like to go with. And something else that I also wanted to walk you guys through is some of the sustainability and compliance modules that we have. So if we go to Material Console, which is part of the main platform that we have, you can just go to My Console, where you can create your own lists of materials. So let's just select this one, for example. And when we go inside the list, something that you'll be able to do is add this screen line, which is our sustainability solution. And you can just click onto a, add to compliance assessor. And here you can assess these materials against multiple, regulations you would like to work with. Just for this example's sake, let's go with ROS, for example, the European Union. Let's go with 2015. Okay, let's go with a different one as well. Let's select PFAS, the international one, and let's go with another one. I think this is actually sufficient, just to give us something to work with. And then when you click on Oh, let me actually add reach as well. I think that would be also a good example. So let's select reach, for example, article 59, and then just click on assess. And here we have these three materials that we added for compliance assessments, and you'll be able to, check the compliance for each one of these. So for reach, um, the first one, the steel is compliant, as well as the polymer. But this aluminum, some components could not be assessed as a specific chemical identity is unknown, or one or more substances might exceed the concentration limit of 0.1%. And if you would like, to see that a bit more in depth, you can just click onto the vertical view here and select the compliance you would like to work with, for example, ROS, and you will see exactly why it couldn't be assessed. And yeah, if I go back to the table view, essentially here, you'll be able to, export this to Excel. You can also save this compliance assessment, give it a name, give it a description here, and you can also add to material list builder, as well as find equivalent materials if you would like to use the cross-reference table, if you would like to, to change one of these materials. But yeah, these would be compliant. Then you can also, see all the details here. And now moving on to other, sustainability modules that we have. So if we go back to Material Console and we would like to add this to the LCA calculations, here you can select the midpoint indicators. For example, let's select climate change, ecotoxicity, human toxicity, and yeah, let's just go with these for this example's sake. And you can also select the endpoint damage indicators right here. And when you click on calculate, you'll get all of the LCA assessments here for all of these indicators that you selected, as well as all the values. And if you would like, let's say, to pin reference the material for benchmarking, see how they compare, next to one another. If you would like to, see it all the values, you can also use this option right here. You can also, as I mentioned, export this to Excel. You can add this to the report builder, save this, give it a description, give it a name, and yeah, just some of the functionalities that you'll be able to perform here, so you can stay ahead as far as sustainability goes. And same goes for carbon footprint. So if we go to a material console again and we add these materials to carbon footprint calculations, here you'll be able to add different things as parameters. So for example, processing, you can choose the country or region of manufacturing, for example, United States. You can select the manufacturing route. Let's just select blast furnace. As an example, click on save. And here you can also add different parameters for processing. Let's go with cast iron drilling conventional, for example. You can also select the country or region of processing. Let's go with Europe, and then click on, and we can also add the removed material. Let's go with 0.23, for example. Here, when you click here, you'll actually also find the description and the reference, so you can find out more about it. And then just click on save. And then if you add parameters for transport, let's just go and select the truck. For example, the first one, let's go with Euro 4. Here you can add the distance, for example, 1000. Click on add. And here you'll also find the description and the reference. Click on save, and we can just go ahead and calculate the carbon footprint. Here we have all the values for carbon footprint, and if you would like to visualize the main indicators a bit differently, you can just click onto this chart right here, where you will see the manufacturing is the main contributor, then we have the cast iron drilling, and then we have the transport as the least contributing factor here. You can also add this to report builder, PDF it, share with your colleagues, share all the different values for carbon footprint. Works in a similar way like LCA and compliance assessments. So yeah, those are the main things that I wanted to walk you guys through. And right now I just wanted to share a quick poll, so we can see what you're actually most interested in. So just wanted to see what would you like to explore. And here you can select multiple, answers, whether it is, cross-checking materials compliances, performing sustainability calculations, predicting material properties, access to material reference library, exporting the data. Here you can select multiple options. So yeah, feel free to select whatever you would like to explore a bit more in depth.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the feedback on this. It's really important for us to understand what topics you would like to cover. So first, we don't bore you with things that might not be appropriate for your need, but also making sure we don't bombard you with the wrong information. So we greatly appreciate that. And we'll just give it one more moment. And I'll also explain how you could potentially test our products and our solutions once we end the poll here. And sir, we also had a question about welding information. So apologies, we couldn't get to that. But our material reference library covers welding, brazing, and adhesion data. So then you could filter actually for welding data, filter through the welding method, and be able to find the information you got. So I'm just going to end the poll here. And I'm going to share my screen to just explain how we usually what we usually do with the next step. So firstly, obviously understanding your specific requirements and challenges is the great first step. Exploring our solutions in a bit more detail, evaluating our products so then you could test with a real life or real world scenario, analyzing your results and ensuring that the solution did meet your objectives, and finally rolling out and onboarding the tools within your organization. So again, thank you everyone for joining today's presentation. Nicola, thanks for supporting and providing that insightful demo. We're going to be contacting you within the next couple of days to see how we could best help you and understand your current material pain points. Everyone will receive a copy to the recording of this presentation as well, so feel free to share it across the organization. Again, thank you everyone for joining today, and we appreciate your time. Have a great
Thank you,
day and
everyone.
take care. Bye bye.
Take care.